G'day fellas, and welcome to a casted game of Age of Empires 4. Today we're on the map Lipany. It's a classic map. I love this map, and I guess I love it because I play those defensive civilizations that can get away with booming, but today we're not going to be watching some defensive civilizations. We're going to be seeing all-out aggression. Ladies and gentlemen, spawning in the west of the map, in the color orange, playing as the Delhi Sultanate, it's May. And on the east side of the map, in the color blue, playing as the Chinese, Ayyubids. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Lipany. A pleasure to have your company, and let's talk a little bit about what we will see today, because for anyone who isn't familiar with May, we've casted him before. Now, I apologize if I refer to May as a girl. It's just, you know, for me, I think of May and I just think that's a girl's name. That's it. You know, it must be tough being named May and being a guy, because that must happen a lot. But anyway, so May's from China, and May is a Delhi Sultanate one-trick pony. And he's incredibly good. Incredibly good. Currently rated about 2,000, which is, you know, Conqueror 3 plus, each plus representing an extra 100. It is a very long way away from the Conqueror level, or the Conqueror 3 level. So I'm excited to see what we have, because this matchup is difficult for the Delhi Sultanate. If I had to guess, I would say that the win rate for the Chinese in this matchup would probably be somewhere around like 56, 57%. Just simply because the Chinese have the ability to shut down what the Delhi Sultanate do very well. Let me explain. So, May's going to be looking to try, this is May's game plan. May wants to get out early onto the map, horseman, or Ghazi Raider in this case, add in a couple spears, maybe a few archers, and look to try and control sacred sites. He'll look to try and wall off sacred sites, like this one down here, very easy to wall off, so capture it, wall it in, capture it, wall it in, and this one as well, capture and wall it in. The trouble with that is that Ayyubids got access to the Barbican. And the Barbican is really good because it just allows you to shut down a sacred site completely. There is no way that you can really deal with it early on. There are ways that you can get around it. So as an example, if you bring a couple of scholars to that sacred site that the Barbican is on, then they can all heal each other up while the Barbican is attacking them, and then they can capture the sacred site and run away. But it essentially just gives you a get out of jail free card for the Chinese and buys them a little bit more time. The other thing is that you've got access to the Zhukunu as the Chinese, which just absolutely destroy every unit that the Delhi Sultanate can throw at you in the feudal age. So it means that May will probably need to think about getting up to the castle age quickly and wants to avoid a prolonged fight in the feudal age, unless he's happy to really take that fight, which I'd have to say you'd be crazy to do it. Now, Ayyubids a pro. That's the other thing to remember. Ayyubids is a seasoned pro, currently also ranked 2,000 rating, so very high rated player. So, you know, I'm kind of curious to follow May and just see how good he can actually take this whole one-trick pony thing, because I've been a one-trick pony for a long time. In every single game that I play, I always look to one-trick pony, and I think that it's the best thing that you can do if you want to get better at a game, is to just one-trick pony. It's important to know about what other civs or other heroes or other characters can do in your games, because you need to know what threat that they've got. But at the end of the day, I think it's really important to just focus on one civ and master your craft with them before branching out. Age Up now comes through here for Ayyubids. Like, as an example, if you were going to go play StarCraft, I wouldn't be like, hey, go play Terrans for a little bit, then play Protoss, then play Zerg, and, you know, mix between all three, because then you just end up being like TLO. And, well, TLO, he was one of the best players. Not one of the best players, but he was one of the greatest StarCraft 2 players of all time, let's just say that much. He was very influential because of his ability to play all three races, but I suspect if he just stuck with one race, he would have been a lot more effective. Anyway, Age Up's now come through from Ayyubids. This is what we sort of expect from him. And can I just say, with Ayyubids' name as well, it does strike me as a bit feminine. I don't know what's going on. All these names, I'm just getting feminine right now. Who knows? Drongo sound a little bit feminine right there. Anyway, this is a new arc for Drongo. I'm just kidding. But if I call Ayyubids a she as well, I apologize. Just even though I know it's a dude, it's just the name. It just strikes me. I don't know why Ayyubids. It sounds a bit feminine. Anyway, he's French. You can't blame him. You know what they're like. Age Up coming through for May. Nice and early, 4 minutes 24. Expect to see that Sanctity research coming through shortly. Where is it? There's the mosque. There it is. 3 minutes to go. So Sanctity is going to be that technology that allows May to be able to take these sacred sites in the second age, and we can already see that stable coming up. Dome of the Faith coming through as well, and I love this play from May. I'm a big fan of the Dome of the Faith. It just guarantees that you've got presence in the late game, whereas if you go Tower of Victory, while technically, yes, you've got presence in the late game, the trouble is that you really miss out quite a bit on the potential for upgrades. That's the big thing that I notice. So while technically, yes, you know, you've got more attack speed on your units, at the end of the day, it's you're giving up upgrades, basically. Or at least the speed of those upgrades. Alright, well, scouting happening for the moment. Both players just spotting out what they're up to. Undoubtedly, both would have seen the stables. If we check in with May, you can see that he has spotted out the stable. At the same time, Elyona has spotted out the stable, though we can't see it. And, you know, it's kind of crazy. You would have thought something like this would have been fixed. And I guess I bring this up probably every second or third video about how Age of Empires 4's spectator mode still needs improvement. But, like, the fact that I can't change perspective to a player and then see what they've scouted, like, we literally lose all the resources on the map. It's wild to me that not only did the game release like that, but they just never fixed it. They were just like, you know what? There's not enough complaints about it. We're just going to leave it. Like, it's been like this for so damn long. So we don't know right now if Elyona has scouted the stable from May. But we do know that he sees the Ghazi Raider, so we get our answer anyway. But you guys get the picture, right? I'm trying to paint a story for you about what these players know, and it's difficult because we don't always get to know what they know. We can only infer from what they've seen on the minimap. But professional scouts coming out for Elyona very early on. I'm loving this opening. Really, really nice. And I think this is so smart, especially considering you've got these double deer packs nice and close to each other. They're towards the front of the base, which means it's going to be harder to contain them. But this is really, really good. And I honestly think this is something underused with the Chinese. And the reason why I say the Chinese is because you've got the Imperial Academy buffing up your mill, which is going to give you the double, what's it called? Rebate. So you get a tax rebate every time you research a technology as the Chinese, and that of course doubles with your mill. So slowly and steadily we see the numbers beginning to build up. Elyona just going to be playing a 1TC style, not even going into Zhukunu, not even dropping down the Barbican just yet. But we are starting to see cavalry moving towards the top side. Plenty of movement towards the middle as well. Spears now starting to come out. Ghazi Raiders going to be taking fight. Beautiful micro coming through from Elyona as he brings back that one spear. He's trying to pick off the Ghazi Raiders. Keep in mind, if he manages to get them out on low health, he's going to be able to heal them up with the scholars back at home. So imperative that he manages to get them out irrespective of their HP. You just want to try and get them out alive. That is the big key here. But beautiful control here from Elyona as well, making sure the enemy is, well, getting out taking out as many as he can. Anyway, Sacred Site in the center going to be taken shortly, and I suspect this is probably something that Elyona will be able to challenge. Sacred Site in the south, probably a little bit harder. I reckon you could send a single horseman down there and just try and delay it, but there's going to be Ghazi Raiders. It's just way too close in proximity to that enemy base, and I can't help but feel like it is just naturally going to be something that you will lose over time. I'd love to see a Barbican come up towards this north side, and look at the beautiful timing that we are witnessing right here from May. This is what I love to see. All three Sacred Sites with scholars on them at the same time, rather. And you can see the power of Elyona with this early build here. Despite going into that professional scout technology, manages to get plenty of units out here. A beautiful opening from him so far. No second TC just yet, and you wouldn't expect a second TC at this stage. If he goes for a second TC, he's going to fall too far behind, because remember, behind this, May wants to get to Castle Age. He's managed to grab one Sacred Site. Second Sacred Site has now been capped. There's a lot going on this map. A lot of macro, or a lot of micro happening in these fights towards the center. And unfortunately, because of that, Elyona gives up two Sacred Sites despite defending the main one. And this, I would say, is a consequence of not going into that Barbican. If you do go into the Barbican, you know, like as an example, you just send one Vil up here to build it, and that's your first landmark, then I think it is, you know, it's a completely different story here. But it looks like Elyona is going to be contesting these Sacred Sites. The trouble that you're going to have is May has already got the value from these Sacred Sites. At this point, May has done a really good job to secure these Sacred Sites, still has 6 Vils on gold, but basically just wants to get up to the Castle Age. That's it. Utilize the Sacred Sites to generate gold so that you can get to Castle Age. That's pretty much it. These Vils are going to be backup gold generators. That's pretty much it. But you can see, even though the Sacred Site is being decapped at the moment, it will still generate gold for May. I don't know if we can actually see the gold being generated. You might get lucky with your last tick or something like that, but not gonna show. Maybe down on the south side it'll show. There you go, 21 gold. So even though the Sacred Site is being decapped actively, we're still gathering gold from it, or generating gold. But all 3 Sacred Sites are now taken, and May's going to be going into the House of Learning, another interesting landmark. So instead, opting for that route of technology over, what would be the way to say, the Compound of the Defender, obviously, a little bit more focused on getting units or getting buildings out there right now. That's the primary difference. So more of an investment. You know, I'm going to be making lots of units throughout the game, and we've already sort of signified that. I think if anything, May likes to play this sort of longer game style where we see, where we see him playing into games despite not having strength in the late game, but attempting to play into these late late game situations. Double blacksmith is down, and we hear the relics getting picked up. So relic in the north going to get picked up, relic in the south going to get picked up, relic in the west getting picked up. There's 2 relics that remain on this map. Of course, a little bit difficult to contest these ones. Vils on the sacred site, or rather Vils on the gold mine, going to get caught out of position as the horsemen attempt to come through. Textiles, I didn't actually see whether textiles is on these Vils. It's not, despite being a free upgrade for the Delhi Sultanate. Keep that in mind. It is a free upgrade. So it's always one of those things where it's like you kind of want to just get it, even if it does cost you a villager, just simply because it's free. Whereas, you know, you look at the Chinese as an example, and they've got to pay 150 resources for theirs, whereas you get yours for free. It doesn't cost you any extra time. Wallalol attempt in the north, not going to happen. Not gonna, oh my lord, that was a little bit too close for comfort for Elyona, but numbers still looking good. Age up gonna be coming through on the back for Elyona, 10 minutes and 11 minutes right now. Let's switch it over to income per minute, get a bit of an idea on where these two currently stand. Upgrades are on the way. We can already see honed blades. I always get in trouble for pronouncing that one. Owned blades, and you can really see the control that Elyona's got in this matchup, and not going into a single Zhuge-Nu, which is quite impressive. The fact that he's got this much control over Mei, despite no Zhuge-Nu, no Song Dynasty, just ensuring he's got control with the Ghazi, or control over the Ghazi Raiders with the horsemen. But beautiful timing here. Acknowledges that men-at-arms are going to become a significant threat in this game, says, instead of going into Song Dynasty, instead of going into a second TC, I'm just going to go to Castle Age and guarantee that I've got a response to that, whether that be my own Palace Guards, whether that be Lancers, or whether that be crossbows, something a little bit harder. It guarantees that I've got that. Obviously also got upgrades as well, but you can see now the men-at-arms about to get these upgrades coming through. Keep in mind that they do an extra 3 damage through the owned blades, and look at all the upgrades coming in. I tell you what, I love Mei's style of Delhi Sultanate. It's really like an economically focused Delhi Sultanate. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. I think it plays into the weakness of Delhi Sultanate in a way, because they are notoriously all in, and often the thing with the Delhi Sultanate is that they are very one-dimensional. And I think that's what's great about watching Mei, is that he changes the way the Delhi Sultanate is played. You know, as a civilization, you expect them to do basically one thing. Capture the sacred sites, make lots of units, wall in the sacred sites, go to Castle Age, and try and kill you with either lancers or castles in the Third Age. And that is not what Mei does. Mei plays it completely differently. But unfortunately, he's down 10 Vils already. He's taken it out, or Elyona's managed to take out 6 Vils already. I don't know what happened to the other 4 villagers. I'm just going to assume Mei had a little bit of idle time, maybe a little bit too many villagers. Or, sorry, maybe a little bit too many units being produced. But decent control from Elyona. Palace Guard's now going to be coming out. Lancers as well. Still 12 horsemen on the field at the moment. And some of these deer are being sniped away. I don't know if you guys saw it, but I did see a little bit of a thief. Where was it? I saw a scout somewhere thieving away these deer carcasses. There they are. And towards the front of the base, we see plenty of units coming through. But one of the things to note is that the majority, or at least these men-at-arms so far, have not really made a dent in the economy of Elyona. And this is the hardest thing, right? It's this men-at-arm timing that you've got to deal with, because all of a sudden there's a flood of men-at-arms that come towards your base. How do you deal with it? Well, Elyona's gone with a two-folded approach. The first one, or a two-pronged approach. The first one is going to be aggression, making sure that you're in the enemy's base, keeping them distracted, keeping them attracted to their own base. And the second component was going up to the Castle Age and making sure that you've got units that can match their power. So really smart moves from Elyona already. I think from here, this is the big part of the game where you want to see that diversification into the Song Dynasty, into a second town center, because you as a Chinese player still need to find that win condition. And even though the Delhi Sultanate isn't the strongest civ in the late game, the Chinese, while they're strong, they need to have that economic advantage. That's the key here. A whole bunch of units getting caught up on this gate. Spearman just going to get thrown away in this fight. Unless he's careful, Elyona falls back. A couple of scholars going to be moving out as well towards the front. And now spears together with the horsemen and lancers falling back away from this. I'd love to see crossbows mixed in with this, but one thing to note is we don't have a single archery range in this game, at least yet. Barbican of the Sun now going to get thrown down. Very aggressive Barbican of the Sun. Take a look at this. It is right here in the middle of the map. He's using this as a pseudo keep. And I love this, because for all intents and purposes, it is a keep. It is 100% a keep. You can get your emplacements on it. Obviously not as strong as a keep when it comes to its firepower, but still pretty damn, you got to respect it. And if anything, you could argue that it's better than a keep, simply because it costs wood to repair this landmark, rather than stone to repair the keep. So it is very, very nice in that regard. Barbican now going to be coming up. Let's see if Mei is going to try and contest this at all. Walls coming up towards the north for Mei here. Plenty of units up there as well. Man-at-arms together with spears, backed up by a whole bunch of scholars, just running as fast as they can to get to their healing position. Barbican's continuing to come up. Undoubtedly, May has spotted it at this point and knows he needs to contest it, but more units continue to come through. You can see just how surrounded he is. Alyona doing a very good job of keeping these enemy units under control early on in this game. 15 minutes through. The economy's still in favor of Alyona, up 14 villages at this point. Definitely in favor, securing up gold in the middle. There's not a whole lot of gold behind the scenes for May to actually take control of, but now that Barbican comes online, expect to see your emplacements coming through shortly. That Springwood emplacement still very strong, and the numbers game once again looking very good for Alyona. Keep in mind that despite May having a decent military population, a lot of that is going to be because of the scholars. But now crossbows and spears going to be the majority of military that we start to see coming out from May, appreciating the fact that her opponent, or rather his opponent, is making spears, making palace guards and lancers. There we go, we got it. All right, so we've got ourselves a little bit, geez, it's been an action-packed game, this one, hasn't it? I tell you what, this is, as I said, this is one of the things I love about watching May, because he is a one-trick pony. He knows the intricacies of his civilization, he knows the limits, and he's done a great job so far in this game. But by the same token, Alyona has been impressive. You know, as a Chinese player, you're always feeling pressured to be going into that second town center, always feeling pressured to go early into that Song dynasty, and we didn't see that here from Alyona. We saw outside the box playstyle that's demonstrated a very, very nice opening. One thing to note though is that while you secure both of these golds in the center of the map for Alyona, this is great, your opponent still has a lot of gold back in the main base. 4k here, 2.4k here, and 4k here. So we've still got 10k gold, not to mention the fact that we're sitting on 4 relics. It's a lot of gold to consider. So while technically you're denying this gold, it's really not going to be impactful in the short term. You know, you might see this be impactful after 30 minutes, but right now, this doesn't really do much. Now, one thing to note is Alyona obviously is gathering up the gold from the center, leaving the gold back at home for later, but unfortunately, it seems like later has now come to that time, and that's a lot of vills on this gold. I'd love to see these vills brought to the middle. Denying the gold away from the enemy is always a good thing, but I guess you've also got to, you know, decide, okay, is it really worth me bringing the vills out here at this time? If I lose this position, then I might lose the vills. All 3 sacred sites now going to be held by Alyona, though, and the economic advantage continues to trickle in favor of him. Towards the north side of the map, we've got a single man-at-arms fighting up against a single monk. Monk will go down as the Lancer does inevitably and eventually kill the man-at-arms. More scouts now moving out, and Alyona's done a great job with the deer. The other thing to note is that he has just brought in so many deer. Still at 18 minutes into this game, we don't actually see any transition over to farms, which is kind of wild for the Chinese. So I'm going to give props right now to Alyona for playing the Chinese so differently, but still so effectively. Really, really well played here. Let's check in and see how May is doing, though. Keep in mind, all of the relics, well, at least 4 of the relics are within his control. Archery ranges now going to be coming up on the backside, quite a few of them as well. We see the farm transition in at 18 minutes, about standard, maybe a little bit early, obviously, when you've lost this much deer, despite being on Lipany with all the extra berries. And now the Nesta B is going to get caught out of position as the men-at-arms try their best to swoop in. Nesta B is going to turn around, fire off on the center of mass of the crossbows. Decent coverage, but don't get any kill shots just yet. Couple more lancers moving up towards the top side, going to try and take out those vills, but unfortunately, for the majority of the army, they've stepped out a little bit too far in this situation, and May takes control of this central location, guaranteeing that these Nesta Bees are going to be seeing the grave today. So, a little bit of a mistake there from Alyona, not even a little bit, a big mistake right there from Alyona, pushing out away from this central position. Definitely could have just moved up here with cavalry instead, but decided to commit with everything, and as a result loses his army, now down about 50% compared to the enemy. You can see it's very, very close when it comes to, or not very, very close at all. It is not very close when it comes to that military count. The percentage markers here, you've got 50% and then 66% here. And obviously when your enemy is at 66%, that means you're at 33% or 34%. I know there's going to be like the one guy out there who's like, technically 66% and 34%. All right, you can have it. Well, hey, mate, if you want to get technical, it's 67%, okay, because we're rounding up. But I'll let you have it. Anyway, it's going to be a tough defense here for Alyona. Still, once again, not a whole lot to defend these Nest of Bees. I'd love to see a couple more Palace Guards thrown into the mix, leaving them exposed on the south side again. The Men-at-Arms together with the Spearmen just going to be running in on top and manage to find a huge surround, trying to hold that Nest of Bees on for dear life. But of course, the numbers here still looking good. Firing off towards the Scholars. The Scholars have got that heal coming in. Battering rams beginning to work it down. Reinforcements going to be coming through. And this is what I was talking about earlier about not bringing the Vils up, or at least not bringing all the Vils up. Because if you do lose this gold, there is the risk that you lose the Vils with it as well. Or at least get a whole bunch of idle time. 3 Sacred Sites still ticking at this moment. And May holding on for dear life in this game as the crossbows continue to push forward. Vils going to get taken out slowly by them. You can see them trying to work down the battering rams underneath the Barbican. But now the Scholars are going to be moving into position to make sure this Barbican is able, or not able rather, to take out these crossbows. You can see just how quickly they get healed up. More units now make their way through. All the Vils get taken out. Evens up the Vil count a little bit. Not really. The Chinese have obviously got their Song Dynasty in now, which means faster villager generation for Elyona. 3 Sacred Sites continue to tick it as we hit the 7 minutes and 10-second mark. You can see all 3 at the moment uncontested, but this one in the middle, I suspect it won't be too long before May takes control. Now, the question for me is about what does May do next? Because I feel like an Imperial Age here is not out of the question for him. He's got plenty of wood in the bank, which means that you've got the ability to do good farm transitions like this. You've got a lot of safe gold in the back of the base that you can look to try and grab. And you've just had a huge victory in the middle here. You've denied away the Barbican from the enemy. You can wall up the front once again. And as long as you don't overextend and lose out all of your troops like you're doing right now, I think that there is definitely a reason or a possibility that you can just go straight to Imperial Age and look to take advantage of the Palace of the Sultan, which is one of the things that we've seen May do many a time before. The Palace of the Sultan, of course, infamous for its ability to just train elephants very quickly. These are high-cost units that have got a lot of gold in them, and you get them for free, so you're basically getting free gold, and, well, free gold is always welcome in Age of Empires 4. To the north of the map, we see the Sacred Site still uncontested for the moment. Elyona towards the middle of the map, now looking to build that horseman number up. You know, I saw a comment on my most recent video. It said words to the effect of, Drongo, you're complaining about cavalry when you just literally complained about ranged infantry the video before. And I thought to myself, you know what, that's a great point. But I think there's a little bit of difference, right? Like, ranged infantry's got this weird thing where if you've got so much of it, you can just kind of kill the cavalry. And if your enemy doesn't get into cav soon enough, or like early enough, then there's too much ranged infantry and you can't actually ever get a foothold with your cav. That's essentially like the argument. But you can see that Elyona's gone very early into the cav. So I'm like, I think this is still a pretty decent mix, a good balance that we're seeing here. And both players are demonstrating very well just the intricacies of this micro. We can see that the battering ram manages to make its way back here. Keep is going to be coming online. You can see the battering ram making a bit of a mistake going to the back side of the keep rather than the front. But I think at the end of the day, the keep will come online and the ram will be going down, irrespective of the positioning of the ram. But I tell you what, this is an insane game. And I just want to draw it back to the fact that May is a one-trick pony, right? May plays games against some of the best players in the world. And here against Elyona, he is in 100% his comfort zone. This is exactly what he likes. Even though he's down 20 Vils, even though the economy's not looking that good, even though he's losing out on resources, he still feels really good about this situation. Let's do a little bit of a stock take on the economies. May at the moment, 1,200, 800, so call it 2,000, 2,600, 2,700. We'll give it to him. Meanwhile, on the side of Elyona, farm transition about to come through. We can see 900, 1,700, 2,500, 2,600. So economy is pretty even despite the Vil count difference. And that is largely because of the relics. And that's pretty much about all I can attribute it to. I don't really know. Other than that, what is contributing to that? You'd have to say, yeah, I guess relics make up about 8 Vils for May, but I guess at the same time, it's technically only 6 Vils because your opponent's got 1 relic, so you've got to deduct a relic off them. So it's only 6 Vils difference. We've also got the Sacred Sites, that's the other thing to note, that have been held by Elyona for quite some time that are going to be generating gold. But you'd have to feel like despite the numbers, the economy still feels like it's in favor of Elyona. Maybe it's just that we've caught him in the middle of a transition. So the problem is when you're in the middle of a transition, it's that awkward phase where you're still kind of haven't gotten onto the resources 100% yet. But we can see down to the south of the map, Elyona is looking for Vils. Anywhere he can find Vils, he's going to try and hunt them down. Double berry patch down here, of course, not going to be contested by May. Very smart move there by May, just instead opting for the farms. And you can see that there's not a whole lot of centralization for these farms. There's a little bit of a mix. You've got 8 down here, but then you've got the 30... I was going to say 32, but it's technically 33, 34, 35 farms over here. Always a bit funny when you see this. 36 farms. What's going on, May? I tell you what, my autism would absolutely not approve of... Well, I can tell you right now, it does not approve of this sort of thing. I'm a little bit like Talisman. Is it 2278? You guys remember the legend of Talisman? Gosh, that guy. What a hero that... Well, I mean, not really a hero. But you know, in the end... God, that was a story, wasn't it? You know, sometimes I still go back and watch that video because it was such an epic story that we got to witness. A man who was in the wretches of ELO hell, but not through his own doing, through his own decision. He decided to be stuck down there, and he just enjoyed playing SimCity and Age of Empires 4, and you got to respect a guy for doing that. But unfortunately, in the end, we did find out that he was actually cheating, and that definitely ruined it. At least in my heart. He turned from being a legend into like a mythological creature at that point, Talisman. But look, his base building practices still live on in our memory. All right, well, Ayyubids maintains a 22 villager lead at the moment. No second TC drop down just yet. Still on that 1 TC Song Dynasty. Interesting decision making. Honestly, I feel like a second TC should have come out at least 10 minutes ago from Ayyubids. He'd be in a very comfortable position now if that was the case. But then you'd also make the argument that maybe he'd be in a comfortable position economically, but militarily it would be a very different story. Because the fights have been, you know, quite, well, they've been pretty even. And any detraction from Ayyubids' forces would have been a very heavily felt influence. All right, well, the numbers are looking good here for May. Elephants have started to come out. Resources getting banked up here. I think it might be time for that Imperial Age. I'm loving this farm transition. I've mentioned it many a time before, but there's just something that feels really good about having this many vills on farms. You know, we've talked about the balance of farms recently. I think they've all recently got nerfed, with the exception of the Chinese. I think maybe the Chinese and maybe the English. I don't want to get myself nerfed here, but I'm pretty sure it's just the Chinese that didn't get nerfed. The granaries, of course, getting that 10% bonus. So everything else got like a slight nerf on the farms. But the Chinese farms, still kind of good. Still kind of good. Anyway, I'm sure the devs ran the numbers and they looked at granaries and they're like, you know what? Granaries are underperforming. So we're not going to touch them. And just by nerfing everything else, we'll just kind of bring them in line with what the expectation is. I suspect that's probably the case. Interesting keep decision for Ayyubids here. Instead of going for a keep here, I would be a lot more tempted to just get a stone wall across this area here. Like, you stonewall this up, and then you stonewall across here, and it basically does the same thing as the keep. Like, realistically, I don't know what this keep does. Obviously, it stops enemy forces if there's a raid that goes by, but to me, it just feels like a waste of stone. But, I don't know. Maybe you think differently. But speaking of thinking differently, May on the other side of the map, where's that Imperial Age? All the resources have been spent, but not a whole lot of units in queue. May instead just going max population right now, 188 of 200, continuing to climb, not even looking for Imperial Age, says we don't need it. Boiling oil's not through. Ayyubids going to be ceding this central keep, and May, despite that 1 TC, now we see that second town center going to be placed down. I tell you what, it's been a long time coming, a second TC in this game. I mean, we've technically had a second TC since the very beginning, but you guys know what I mean, a secondary TC for these two players. And have a look at Ayyubids. You know exactly what he wants to do. Is he going to have the time to do it, though? I suspect he probably won't. Needs to bring more vills here. You need to have 8 vills on this side, 8 vills on that side. That's the only way you're going to be able to speed this up, because the way that the landmark is built, it locks out your vills on this one side, and you'll see them patrolling back and forth. Look at this. So he's not getting 100% value. You've got to bring these vills around to the other side, and then they can build. It's a bit awkward, a bit weird. He's going to try and get the Great Wall Gatehouse up. Is it going to come up in time? The one-trick pony is going to be really limit testing here up against the Chinese. Ayyubids holding on for dear life in this game. Scholars are out in mass here. He's got 17 currently. Plenty of horsemen looking to try and tank up the front lines, trying to block those battering rams from getting through. Crossbowmen on the back as well. Plenty of damage. No focusing down of these elephants just yet. And there we see it coming online with 6,000 health, a pretty decent amount of health. At the same time, Palace of the Sultan going to be going down for May, and May falls back away from this defensive landmark, realizing just the power that is going to be there. And you can see that Nesta being placement and just how much range it's got on it. May doing the right thing. Beautiful attempt there by May, and very much limit testing the power of the Delhi Sultanate. All right, well, we've got the Palace of the Sultan now going to be coming up here for May towards the top side of the base. Keep in mind that second TC has come up online now, so May will be striving towards that 130 villager count, which is typical of players in 1v1s. That's normally where you want to see it. Sometimes you occasionally see players go a little bit higher than that, normally for like the Holy Roman Empire or the Order of the Dragon, just because of the way the tempo works, but majority of games that you'll see for the Delhi Sultanate, that's where they'll peak 130, 135-ish, somewhere around that. And you can already see here, have a look at the upgrades that are on the way right now for May. Looking to upgrade everything. 14 scholars with 5 more in queue. Madrasa has now arrived. These scholars came for free, right? I'm pretty sure you get free scholars with your madrasa. The first madrasa constructed grants 3 free scholars. There you go. Drongo not forgetting the intricacies of the Delhi Sultanate Imperial Age. So that'll be nice for May here. And we can see that 4 scholars inside the Palace of the Sultan mean that these elephants are going to be coming out very quickly, a little bit over a minute to produce each one of these elephants. So naturally, the longer the game goes, the better it gets for the elephant enjoyers. Meanwhile, towards the base of his opponent, we start to see some big farm transitions coming through. 2 farms deep on pretty much every single angle here for Elyona. Gold slowly being exhausted in the center of the map, and you can see that currently Elyona has lost out position on these 2 big golds in the middle. Still, there's a lot of gold out on this map, though. That's the other thing to note, that Lippiny's got quite a bit of gold here. You know, that's... Interestingly, I feel like there is too much gold on maps. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. But maybe if they reduce the amount of gold, maybe they just need to reduce the amount of gold in the gold veins. Instead of having like 4k in a gold vein, have it like 2.5k in a gold vein. But then that's going to really buff aggressive civs and nerf defensive civs. I don't want to bite my... I don't want to hurt myself here, guys. I'm just going to recall that comment. Pretend like I never said anything. You don't know anything about what I've just said. All right. Well, interesting stone wall towards the north. I suspect Elyona was thinking about putting down the Great Wall Gatehouse in this northerly position, but obviously changed his mind when he realized the imminent push of the enemy. Stone wall's yet to really start coming up across the map, and have a look at the maze that has been made by May here. The maze of May, the amazing maze of May. There we go. That's definitely not going on the thumbnail. I wouldn't want to click on that. I've talked about it before. Not a fan of hedges. Sorry. What? Anyway, plenty of upgrades starting to come through, though. Take a look at this. We've got 3 upgrades in this madrasa. I suspect there is a second madrasa somewhere. Indeed, there is. So we start to see 3 more upgrades coming through. And May is just getting every upgrade. Clicking every single upgrade. And I think this is where the real power of the Delhi comes in. And May understands this completely. Like, a lot of civilizations would be feeling the burn right now of Imperial Age. I've got to upgrade my blacksmiths, you know, or all my blacksmith upgrades. I need to get those. They're damn well expensive. You know, I got to pay 350 gold for each of these. I got to upgrade my economic stuff. 500 gold on all of these. You know, this is terrible. Oh, it's Imperial Age. I need to get my unique Imperial Age upgrades, like reload drills, another 350. Meanwhile, this whole time, do we even get into the university and the cost of the university tax? Dare I say, we don't have the mangonel upgrade here, but you guys know that if we did, I'd be calling it out. Anyway, it's, wow, you know, like 1,000 gold here, 1,000 gold here. All of this stuff is just coming for free. So we already talked earlier about the fact that May had 4k gold in the base, 4k gold in the base, another 4k gold down here, 12k gold in total. On top of that, you've got technologies that you don't have to pay gold for. So all that gold is just going into units. Not to mention the fact that you've got gold coming in for free from the Palace of the Sultan and the 4 relics. It's just like, this civ doesn't even need gold. It only uses the gold to make units. That's pretty much it. So, there you go. That's my argument. You've heard it here. And, well... It may, you know, we're doing the Donald Trump weave right now. We've just weaved that in to our earlier comment about maybe there should be less gold on the map. But maybe that's just for the Delhi Sultanate. Who knows? Anyway, elite crossbowmen already coming through from May. You can see the speed at which these upgrades are really coming through. You know, often people sort of just laugh at the Delhi Sultanate. They're like, yeah, mate, all right, you've hit Imperial Age. I look forward to seeing the elite units in 12 minutes. Meanwhile, you know, like a minute and 30 seconds later, May's already got these upgraded units out on the field doing God's work here. Have a look at how much damage these are putting out. Elite crossbow coming through from Elyona as well. Nice little wall from May just to make sure this palisade doesn't get rebuilt anytime soon. Crossbows, we've got pikes that have come through, which, oh my god, I totally forgot about this upgrade. This is the unique upgrade available to the Delhi Sultanate. 5.5 tiles of range. We got fire lancers now. Elyona's hit the Yuan dynasty. I didn't even realize. We got the Yuan dynasty here. Where is that landmark? There it is in the north of the map, Imperial Palace. So Imperial Spies is already being used. We're right on board with Elyona just to get an idea of what he sees. At the moment, you really don't see a lot of what he sees because he's already used the spies and it's already on cooldown. But big forces coming out from Elyona. 119 Vils against 98. Still pretty even, Stevens. Let's actually do a quick economic check at the moment. You've got 1900, 2900, 4100, 4500. We'll call it 4400. Meanwhile, on the other side, for our Chinese, we've got 2500, 3600, and you're looking at about 5k. So pretty even on the economy fronts as well. Less than about 10% difference between the two. So still easily manageable, especially considering you get all of these upgrades for free as the Delhi Sultanate. You get a lot of things that aren't counted as well towards that total, like the Palace of the Sultan Elephants. But now breaking through on that north side, Men-at-Arms going to be defending this position. Crossbows out for Elyona on the defense. Elephant numbers continue to rise. Mangonels have got their upgrades. 4 burst attacks, bigger radius. Big radius. That's a single mango attack there. If he didn't get stuck, he would have wiped out that entire backline. But fortunately for Elyona, he did get stuck. Little raids coming through on that back position. Mangonel's looking to try and hit the sweet spot. Not going to be able to find it. I don't think they've got their upgraded speed just yet. They're running quite slowly. Actually, we can probably check on a siege workshop somewhere in this base if we can find it. There we go. No, I take it back. Apparently, we do have the siege upgrade, or the speed upgrade. They just naturally move very, very slowly. They're slow movers. Slow movers. All right, well, 36 minutes into this game, and it still feels like it's even Stevens at this point. Even though May is up by 13k to 9k, I don't know how much you can actually say that that's accurate. I guess the other thing to note is, like, when you look at these economies, it starts to become a little bit more obvious, right? Like, May is at 5k gold, 9k food. Meanwhile, for Elyona, you know, we're struggling to get above 1k for any of our resources. And as a result of that, our population is really starting to take a hit. 192 versus 175. So even if we do manage to hit max pop, we're still not going to have that big bank that we want, especially when we're looking to defend in a situation like this. And May's just going to be able to replace units non-stop. And I think this is May's comfort zone. This is where May wants to be, because now we've reached the late game with the Delhi Sultanate. We've had access to upgrades, unique upgrades from the House of Learning. We've got pikes, which is going to give us that extra range on our crossbows. We're feeling good about ourselves, and we can start to look to play outside the standard realm of what your Delhi Sultanate players experience in that feudal age and that castle age, and really look to push the edges of this map. And speaking of pushing the edges of this map, have a look at this. Maybe that keep on the south side of the map will actually get some value, though. I suspect even if it does, it's not really going to be protecting much anymore. It was a curious decision, but nonetheless, a decision that was made by Elyona. Keep in mind, very, very good player, very high-level player. Cannon emplacement now coming through as well. A lot of Fire Lancers for Elyona. I'm going to say I disagree with these completely. I really don't like Fire Lancers as a unit to fight against the enemy. They're good to mix in because they do give that bonus from... Once you've got the Spirit way up, they give a really nice bonus. But before that, they're not that good unless you want to go sniping landmarks. And you can go snipe landmarks, and maybe that's what you want to do. And if you want to do that, then that is definitely a very good use case here for the Fire Lancer. They don't get a lot of bonus damage against ranged units, though, which is part of the reason why I don't really like them, because once it gets to this stage of the game and you've got big armor numbers, they're not really cutting through that armor because you don't have that bonus damage like the Horseman does. But now those Fire Lancers looking to break through against an immobile Elephant Mangonel army. But Mate looks to say, hey, I don't even care, mate. Go for it. I'll defend back at home with my reinforcements, maybe delete a couple of Vils, and that'll do me. Meanwhile, you're going to have a bit more trouble on your hands. Have a look at this. Triple Walla attempt. Oh, he's going to do it. Oh, he's going to do it. There's no way. Yoink. And all of them get deleted because he's got max pop. So the reason why that happens is you can't go over 200 pop. So if you were going to convert a unit, those units would subsequently be deleted if you're at max pop. If you're not at max pop, then it will convert as many of those as you can. But you can see that not a single unit was converted. They were all just deleted instantly by the game. And yeah, funnily enough, that's pretty much the best response Elyona could have had other than just running out of that that Wallalol. Very good timing there. I love that fact. But interesting thing to note is that those relics have now gone back into the mosque, but they're being held by the scholars rather than being put into the mosque and then the relic, or then the scholars going in to the mosque. So basically what it means is that your relics are technically being held by scholars. They're not giving you extra resources. It's a really annoying little thing, but you know, it's one of those things where it does happen from time to time. And now that keep doesn't get a whole lot of life out of it. On the back side of the map, Vils are going to do their best to stay alive as we see the Fire Lancers come through, but once again, these Fire Lancers not particularly effective against an army comp like this. They might be able to take out the Mangonels, but in the end, oh my lord, look at the Mangos. So many shots coming out, and the Elephants together with the infantry on the front going to be able to defend the Mangonels. A beautiful composition here from May, holding on for dear life. 184 population. He's lost quite a bit of units, but still continues to bring in more reinforcements from the center of the map. We see it keep coming up, more units rallying in towards that bottom side. But now Elyona at 144 pop. It's starting to look a little bit sad for him. He's holding on. But I gotta say, honestly, for a one-trick pony, May absolutely knows the insides and out of his civilization. Look at this. Look at the resources in the bank here for May. 162 pop. He's not even making units. He's going full Lancer here. These are fully upgraded elite Lancer. So he's going to be looking to switch it up completely. And I love this. A massive tempo shift. And he's got the ability to do this because he's got so many resources in the bank. So he's going to send out more units here. We see the elite archers with their extra range. Hold on. He gives an extra 2 range to the archers? Hold on. Wait. Why does it have 7 tiles of range? Oh, is it because of the... You know what? I'm clueless. I'm not going to even say it. I'm clueless. It's 7 tiles of range there on the archers. That's kind of wild. That's the same as a longbow, dude. Those are insane. But the big thing I want to highlight, it's the good game has been called. Elyona tapping out, and our one-trick pony, May, is victorious. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave a link in the description to where you can watch Elyona. I don't think May streams, but anyway, May, an incredible one-trick pony, and we'll be following along with his progress to see how the one-trick pony goes up the ladder. We'll catch you in the next one.